Chris, the BMW Mate, or M8, if you prefer, the most powerful M car ever, 616 horsepower. Does it do it for you?
No, because I've always felt that an M6 or an M8 and an M5 basically being the same car. I'd always go for the stealthy saloon car. I don't see the point in going for the coupe, because it really is just a, you know, it's the same platform with less space. Sometimes it looks a bit better, but I'm not sure it does with this one, because it's very, very sloping rear screen. You
seem to have a problem with this.
It doesn't look as good.
Sure I agree with you.
It doesn't look as good in the raw as it does for me in pictures.
Fair enough.
That's subjective. Look, they're great cars.
Yeah.
BMW have got this platform sorted. It's got massive power. You've got this switchable 4-wheel drive, so it can be a slidey monster if you want, or an all-weather traction monster if you want it to be. But let's face it, BMW struggle at this price point. They always have done.
And
this thing is
165
grand for this car, as tested. And I just think you're up against some really serious kit.
You're into mid-engine supercar territory by the time you get there.
Which admittedly aren't as useful or as rounded as this.
No, but Bentleys and Astons and all sorts.
And the badge just doesn't work at that price.
And it's interesting, you came in straight on the styling there, because I got some thoughts on this. Were we spoilt by the original 8 Series? The fact that that had so much, you know, drama. It was such an original looking thing. And this just,
An M car should be recognisable from about half a mile to a Sado like us. Through the way that it sits, its camber, a slightly wider stance. There should be something about it on the road.
Not enough arch here,
and these current M cars, particularly the 5 and the 8, don't have that. And I think they really miss it. I don't care about the carbon roof, that means nothing to me. I mean, the thing weighs as much as a small planet anyway. Who cares about having a carbon roof? The other thing I find baffling is, this is already the competition version. So that gets launched about 4.5 hours after the normal one.
Where do we go from here?
The non-competition competition to me means they just shag the ride and they put some awful looking wheels on it, because I hate these competition complicated wheels as well. So I've not got a massive downer on it. I just think it should be 100. If it's a £100,000 car, I can make an argument for it. At 165 grand, no.
I like it. This is Chris Harris, who doesn't have a massive downer on this car. Imagine if you did.
No, anyway, I don't.
BMW styling. All right, this car is a good case in point, but they're having a bit of a shocker at the moment, aren't they? Ups and downs. How can a company be producing cars like the X7, like the facelifted 7 Series, grills the size of Surrey, and have you seen the new 4 Series Coupe?
Yeah, the 4 Series Coupe is all over the place. But then you see a 3 Series Touring on the road and you think, that's a BMW.
Are these coming out of the same design department? What's going on?
No, I don't think they are. I think they are looking at their outgoing model ranges, and they must be worrying. Because the M2 is a great looking car. I think the outgoing M3 is one of the best looking M cars ever, because it's got that wide arch look, and the camber and the toes are all just set, so it makes it look really aggressive.
You mentioned earlier, just quickly, this is another 600 horsepower saloon like the M5, like the E63, that you can do the switchable thing. So you can disconnect front drive shafts and have rear wheel drive. But you have to have everything off. So you can only have rear wheel drive if you want to, you know, be completely free.
I sort of agree with that, as long as they tell you when you buy it how that works, then I agree with it. But if they don't, I don't. The reason for that is you can't have people out on the street in this thing in the wet. 616 horsepower and 2-wheel drive with the traction off. You can't have that. So I think it's a bit like fitting a spike to the steering wheel. You know, if you do that, people will slow down. And for the avoidance of doubt, this in the wet 2-wheel drive, it's too much for me. The logic does work, because if you had 2-wheel drive and you could have all the systems on, what's the point? Because they're stopping you using the slidability anyway. So it does make sense. But how many people are going to buy this and go to a track and smoke the tyres?
Bringing it back to a positive space, I'm going to ask you to name your favourite ever M car, but rather than just you're going to give us some obscure classic one that no one knows about, it has to be an M car from the last 10 years. What's your favourite? 1M
at the moment. My 1M has done 60,000 miles. I love it. And it's curious that, because when it came out, it was lambasted for not being a proper M car, because it had a pretty basic M135i engine in it, and it wasn't that special. But now, it just fits with the way that I live, and every time I buy another car, the 1M goes to the back of the shed, and normally about a month later that car gets sold and I get back in the 1M. It's small, it's compact, they look amazing on the road when you see them, because they're basically just a pair of shoulders driving down the road, aren't they? They're butch. The control weights are heavy. The gear shift feels like a BMW gear shift. It's got that same old teardrop shaped gear lever, which I love. So for me, that is the one. I never thought I'd say that. I think the current M3, I think the E, whatever it is, the F80 M3 is a great car.
Bit spiky though. It seems to go down well with sort of driving enthusiasts.
Yeah, but if you take
the general public find it a bit much.
If you take it, not that I can endorse this, if you take it to someone that's good at mapping them, you can have them remapped, and you can make the power delivery less spiky, and that transforms it. Also, if you fit that remarkable Michelin Pilot 4S to it, it just transforms the car. It was launched on a Super Sport, but the new tyre makes it much more drivable. So those are the ones, and of course the all-time great is the E28 M5 from '86. That's the car, probably.
Yeah,
but that and a 1M.
That doesn't fit into my criteria, but had to get that one in, didn't you?